What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com and welcome back to another one of our Kentucky Derby updates. We have a lot to talk about. We saw something very improbable, and not the horse improbable, but an improbable performance at the fairgrounds Saturday. So we'll talk about the Risen Star. We'll kind of recap it. We'll recap the Sunland Derby as well. That I'll give Jon White's top five and my top five. We'll have new ones obviously coming out, and then I will preview well, just give you a little rundown of the John Battaglia and the Rebel Stakes coming up this weekend. Let's get it going with the Risen Star. That was the main event, and that is what everybody seemingly is talking about right now. Well, it was a wild one. First of all, East Avenue bet down to 4-5. He's third from last. A just horrific effort after sitting a very, and I mean very perfect trip. So I closed the door on him. But what did we see from the number 13 Magnitude? Holy cow, this was unbelievable. Magnitude wins by 9 3/4 lengths and was assigned a 108 Beyer speed figure. He was 43-1 in the race. Unbelievable performance here. Gate to wire. He ran them off their feet. He went fast early. He went fast late. Final time of 148.85. Pretty darn good racehorse time there. All right. How did it happen? Why did it happen? What the hell are we going to do with this horse? Was it for real? Let's try to answer some of them. First of all, if you bought our premium products, if you bought the betting Bible, I had Magnitude in second, and I did like him coming into this race. And before I go on with anything else, that is not me sitting here bragging, because there is no chance in the world I would have thought he would have run this type of race. My thought on Magnitude was he's got a great distance pedigree. I think going 1.125, he'll stay the trip a little bit better than everybody else. And kind of what I mean by that was like, hey, he's going to kind of by default beat half the field because they're not going to want to go 1.125. He's got a pretty good trainer that's probably got him ready. I think he could run second, third, fourth, maybe not be that impressive, maybe not really threaten the win, but be respectable. I kind of liked him stretching out. To run a 108 and to win by 9 3/4 and to just win like a 1-5 shot, never in a billion years would I have thought that would have happened, especially from the 13 post. But that's exactly what he did. Look, he just took control of the race and killed him. It's just that simple. I think East Avenue is going to be seeing ghosts for the rest of his life of Magnitude, just leaving him in the dust, as well as many others. So, look, I mean, you can't say enough good things about it. It was fantastic. We'll talk a little bit more. Jon White kind of talks about in his top five. I'll read off his comments of Magnitude a little bit later when we give away his top five. But he kind of made some historical comments that really, put this horse on a pedestal pretty high. Now, here's the deal. What do we do with him moving forward? I think that's a question for each individual, person. If you didn't like him coming in, do you believe in him coming out? If you liked him a little bit, like I did coming in, what do you think of him coming out of this race? Look, here's what I'll say. And again, speed figures, whether it's time for or buyers or whatever, they're not the end all be all. They're not the most accurate measure of a horse's talent. But the highest buyer speed figure for this horse lifetime was an 80. And he got a 108. So that's when it becomes significant. A 28-point jump is crazy. For example, if he would have won this race with a 91, let's say, well, jumping from an 80 to a 91 or even an 89 or a 92, whatever, it's just like, yeah, that is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. That's kind of a normal maybe jump, maybe a horse that liked the distance of 1.125 a little better than what he'd been running. He just kind of naturally got a little bit better and just it was a nice little natural improvement. This was stunning. I mean, I don't understand where it came from. Now, the track was very speed favoring on the day. However, they weren't running this kind of race and this kind of number. I mean, they were running well on the front end, but it wasn't anything like this. So, again, if he wins the race by a length and he goes gate to wire and you look up, it's like, oh, you got a 92 buyer. It's like, yeah, easily explainable, very easily explainable. But as fast as he ran, he just kept going. He looked like he wasn't tired at all. I don't know. It was quite the effort. If he can repeat that, he's going to win the Kentucky Derby. I'm glad we're going to see him one more time. We know he's got that in the chamber, right? So I don't know how you can't say he's at least a very, very strong contender for the race, pending what we see next. But can he repeat that effort? I don't know. That was pretty wild. Some of the others in the race, Chunk of Gold chunks up for second, I'll say. This was the thing. Built made a move and it's like, okay, Built's going to run pretty well here. Let's see what happens. And like Magnitude just kicked it into another gear and Built just fell apart. He just kind of quit. And I don't blame him because he was running hard and he wasn't getting any closer. So he kind of fell back and totally ruined my exacta, by the way. Totally ruined it. Chunk of Gold beats him there at the wire. Did not have that horse. So there's that. And then fourth place finisher Vassimo, not bad. Even fifth place finisher American Promise, they were okay. Nothing to write home about. I don't think really, honestly, I don't think any of them are Derby contenders. Built's probably going to make the race, but I don't really think he's a contender to win it, to be quite honest. Nice horse, don't get me wrong, but at this point, not sure he's good enough. But Magnitude certainly stamps himself as a big time contender. And look, we'll see what happens with his next race, but you can't deny that was pretty special what we saw at the fairgrounds on Saturday. All right, let's go to Sunday. Let's go to Sunland Park. Maybe it wasn't the two greatest horses to ever live battling to the wire, but what a race this was between Getaway Car and Caldera. It's Lucas, it's Baffert. They're 1-2 the whole stretch. They're just battling and battling. Looks like Caldera is going to win it at one point. Getaway Car re-rallies late, gets him by a nose. They were bobbing heads. It could have went either way. Getaway Car does get the job done for Bob Baffert. It's a tale of two trips, though. Getaway Car gets the nice, easy lead all by himself. Caldera's didn't break very well, was caught really wide the whole time, wide on both turns. And look, Caldera's the best horse out of this race for me coming out of it. I think Getaway Car, I think we know kind of what he is. He is kind of that third or fourth string Baffert horse. He's not horrible. He's not great. It's a good win. He showed some heart. He battled back. Give him credit. I don't want to discount him, but I don't think he's a real Kentucky Derby candidate. Caldera might be, honestly. This horse just keeps getting better. You would have loved to see him win. I think that's the one thing, obviously you take away is like, man, he was there. He had it. He could have put him away and he didn't, but he also could have been pretty tired. He ran a long way in a much tougher trip compared to the winner Getaway Car, and still Caldera was almost able to win. Good news for both the horses. And again, maybe Getaway Car can make the Derby. I don't think he's a contender. We'll go down here though. Touchy was third, but beaten 9 lengths. So these two horses ran away from the rest of them. That's a great sign. That is a sign that tells me these two horses can compete when they get up against a little bit tougher company, which they're going to. Obviously, their next starts will be tougher. But look, I think both of them are kind of fringe as far as, hey, can they win the Kentucky Derby? I'm not sure. Probably not. But will they, do they have another big race, down the road they can win? I think so. Keep an eye out, man. Caldera just seems to mentally, he's really starting to get it. The last race, I thought, yeah, that's what he's got to do. He's got to go get to wire. This time, he's not in a great position. He makes a big move. He passed horses pretty quick until he got to Getaway Car, and then the fight began. So, again, I'm not overly high on either one of them as far as winning the Derby, but I think they both proved they're tough horses. They're good horses. They're valuable horses, and they'll have something to say in that last round of prep races, I would imagine. So they should be happy with both of those. All right, let's get to the top fives now. We'll read those off one by one. We'll see what happens. I'll go with John's first here. He's got Captain Cook this week at number 5. So he did replace Burnham Square with Captain Cook. And he said, I think Captain Cook's Withers was much better than I initially thought. So he's going back and reviewing races all the time. He said, much better than I initially thought. He said, and now I am looking at Captain Cook as a serious Kentucky Derby contender. So obviously, if you think that, you think, hey, maybe that race was a little bit better than what Burnham Square did once you get a third, a fourth, a fifth look. John's got it at number 5, Captain Cook. Number 4, Sovereignty. Once again, we're in a holding pattern with Sovereignty. We'll see what happens here. And then at number 3 for John, it will be Magnitude. So this is what he wrote about Magnitude. He said, I've decided to replace East Avenue, clearly, and I will as well, with Magnitude at number 3. And his feeling is the performance was far too impressive to not rank or to rank him any lower than number 3. Magnitude's 108 beyer is higher than the beyer for the winner of the last 16 Kentucky Derbies since Big Brown recorded a 109 in the 2008 Derby. So how about that? I'll read it off again. The 109 beyer assigned to Magnitude is higher than the last 16 Kentucky Derby winners, what they received that day when they won the Kentucky Derby. Big Brown got a 109 in 2008. That is the last time that one's been higher than 108. Got a 109. The main reason I'll continue, I should say, last comment here. The main reason I don't have Magnitude any higher than number 3 is because I'm not sure what to make of the huge performance since his top beyer was only an 80, high of an 80 in his previous 6 starts. So kind of what we talked about. So that's why John's got him at number 3. I can tell you personally, I was texting back and forth with John last night after the Risen Star, and we both were kind of like, I don't know what to do here. This is it's not something you see very often. A horse runs 29 beyer points higher, or whatever scale you're using higher. So is that for real, or is he more of what we saw before? We'll see. But John has Magnitude at number 3. We'll round it out. Citizen Bull number 2, and then Barnes number 1 for John this week. So let's start with some news on Barnes. San Felipe on March 1st at Santa Anita. It sounds like that's where Barnes is going. So Barnes going to the San Felipe. As of right now, that is the plan for him. And I'll go on to mine now. Number 5 for me on the list this week is Barnes. So again, Barnes number 5 for me. And yeah, again, with San Felipe, we'll see 2 turns, but I'm ready to see him run it. Let's see what happens with him. Number 4 is Journalism, and oddly enough, Journalism, San Felipe as well. So Barnes versus Journalism could be very interesting, no doubt about it. Number 3 is Sovereignty for me. He was number 4 on John's list, and Sovereignty going to run in the Fountain of Youth next. So we'll make sure to keep an eye on Sovereignty. And I put Magnitude number 2, and it's kind of funny. I had East Avenue number 2. I just ripped him right off, throw him in the trash, and put Magnitude in there. I kind of took John's same approach. I almost put him number 1, but I thought, let's just see it one more time. If you could go out there and say he doesn't have to run on 109, say he runs a 102 or 103 and wins what I would suspect to be the Louisiana Derby, probably will run next. He'll probably be number 1 for me. You can put back-to-back 100 plus speed figures. So we'll see. Magnitude, I'll put him at number 2. And Citizen Bull, I'll keep him number 1 once again. Closest I've come yet to replacing Citizen Bull with Magnitude. I did it, and I'm still with John. It's like, it's clear Magnitude will win the Derby, or at least be the favorite going into the Derby if he is that type of horse again in the Louisiana Derby. But let's just see. That is such a aberration compared to his other ones. It's really hard to kind of to understand even what we saw, to be completely honest. All right, let's go to next week. I got it up on the screen now. The John Battaglia will be on Saturday night at Turfway Park. It'll be race 7 on the card. Field of 12 with 2 also eligibles. A full preview of this is out right now at racingdudes.com. If you're listening to this, that's already been posted. So John Battaglia, there it is. That's the field. First Resort, the number 9 horse, is probably going to be the favorite. Number 12, Maximum Promise, probably take a little bit of money as well. Number 10, coming in hot as well. So for a full preview, check out racingdudes.com. The John Battaglia is up right now. So should be a really good race. And then the race near and dear to my heart at Oaklawn Park, the Rebel Stakes, one of my favorites every year as a Oaklawn Park guy. And unbelievable. A field of 14. This is a tremendous betting race. I have no idea who the favorite's going to be. Not a clue. My guess would be Sandman, but it's very questionable. Could be Speed King. Could be Coal Battle. I don't think it'll be Madaket Road. It could be. I doubt it. Bullard, probably not. But anyway, going to be a hell of a race. Field of 14, full preview going to be out at Oaklawn. The full preview going to be out at Racing Dudes right now. As you're listening to this, go once this video's over, go watch that one for a full preview of that. All right, guys, that'll do it for this week's update on the Kentucky Derby. The road to the Kentucky Derby is heating up. Boy, just when you think you've seen it all, you see something like that. And again, we've seen amazing performances on the Kentucky Derby Trail over the years, but I don't know that I've ever been more surprised by an amazing performance. I didn't think that horse had it in him to run that type of race, but Magnitude certainly did it. So, all right, next week, make sure to tune in. We've got a lot going on. We'll recap what happens in the Rebel. We'll recap the John Battaglia new top fives as we do every single week. And then 3 preps coming up March 1st. We'll have quick previews of that, kind of talk about those before we see the big previews up on the website. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Hit the like button if you like it. Subscribe if you really like it. Want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, come back next week for another Kentucky Derby update.